Um, Hello everyone. Today we're gonna talk about the Protests, one of the most important texts of 20th century, and written by Franz Kafka. Uh, uh, let's start the talk about author. So, as I mentioned it before, this novel written by Franz Kafka, the greatest officials in the history of the Prague insurance department. He was a fragile, sensitive, thin-skinned, and kept standing with this life in his hands somewhere in the hallway as with a bulky and a useless gift um, with which you don't know how to be and even where to put it now. So, in a word, he was a man who never had a time to prepare, even to prepare for his own life. And yet, even in such situation, without clear skills of resistance and the faith, always tormented by joints, doubts, and service, Kafka could create great texts. And among other things, one of the most crucial novels on the of the 20th century is a Protest. For talking about it, it seems interesting to me to repeat this maneuver. First of all, if you look carefully at the text itself, at how this novel is made, at those techniques that create its unequal atmosphere. So let's move on. Oh, again. As you see in the screen, it's Franz Kafka, and this picture was portrayed Franz Kafka and his wife. So, after all, Kafka is a sophisticated stylist. Most often, his absurdity is not loud and straightforward, challenge to reality. Kafka's absurdity, especially in the Protests, is a very subtle play on semitones. It is outwardly quite simple, but in essence, an elegant work devoid of any clumsiness. So, Kafka himself often spoke very critically about his works. You know, his prose, his novels. For example, one summer day in, if I'm not mistaken, 1914, just at the time when he returned to work on the protests, he left such a laconic note in his diary. Yesterday and today I wrote 4 pages. It is difficult to surpass their, insignificance. So there are great many perfect phrases in the protest in my view. So the process essentially consists of them. And with the help of such simple and everyday tools, Kafka unhurriedly spins the flywheel of the absurd to an incredible limit.
A man is going through a trial but doesn't know why he's arrested in the first place, and the reason remains unknown. The subtle transition in Kay's behavior is worth noting from the first chapter, where Kay is literally laughing at the officers and his arrest, acting nonchalantly and believing that it's a petty joke. Nothing more to the worried Kay, who wants to read of the trial as soon as possible, doing whatever it takes, who is accepted it as his harsh reality. The writing is characterized by utter despair. What you know is the trial's going on for how long you don't know, how to get acquitted, and you don't know also. Kay is made to enter a dark tunnel and sees few sparks on his way, but is unaware that he will never see the light. However, the sparks keep his hope afloat. His landlady, Frau Gruber, suggests that the trial may relate to an immoral relationship with his neighbor, so he goes to visit her and ends up kissing her. He then finds out that a lodger from a newborn room has moved in with Frolin, and he suspects this has been done in order that partner might distance herself from any involvement with Joseph K. With one word, he begins to seek help from others, and without noticing that he believed the words of the society which contradicted his inner voices. Apart from society in the family, he was like an unwelcome gift from fate, and the shortcoming of love for his side he had to break him. But despite this, he continued to struggle, and such extraordinary works appeared from his hands. Sometimes I think that Kafka was a fragile being inside, fragile being inside, which he didn't show to people. He also sensitively wound up all relationship with him and felt worthless, thereby giving the unnecessary thoughts not only to exist but to live.
Okay, it's turn the analysis part. So we discussed the other work written by Franz Kafka, more precisely Metamorphosis, and comparing the two works of this author, we find that that the action that takes place in Metamorphosis and in the trial all begins in the morning when a person just wakes up. It seems to me that this is how Kafka introduced fragments from his own life into his works. As you already know, the dream is illustrated, with a short-term death. And then starting his works in the morning, he symbolized his birth. As I have already mentioned, that he wasn't ready for his life. He still didn't write the end of his story, and also he didn't want this book to be published. And asked his friend to burn those manuscripts after his death. In my opinion, all he cared about was a fear that readers would eventually figure him out. They would actually find out that this was a part of his life.
In accordance with Kafka's vision of a comprehensive but indifferent society, the individual experiences strong feelings of isolation, alienation, and anxiety. The course stands on the side of society, which insists on compliance at all costs, and the individual is guilty simply for being an individual. The very idea of protection in this context is paradoxical. The purpose of protection is to give a person the opportunity to defend his innocence, but to defend his innocence means to assert himself. And asserting oneself, loudly defending oneself and one's actions is inherently criminal in a society that just wants an individual to shut up and blend in with the crowd. As the novel depicting the main character and other defendants shows the court penetrators into all aspects of the defendant's life. The trial experience leads to pervasive self-awareness on the part of the accused, accompanied by a sense of inferiority, insecurity, and paranoia.
So, I tend to think that these guards and the people telling him he's doing something wrong are merely the judgments that we face as we go through society. and they interact with people with completely unseen perceptions of the world. Perceptions that we can never really know and perhaps never really properly engage with, but that govern our quality of life. In conclusion of our presentation, we want to answer the main question: what did this Kafka's work teach us? So, Kafka show us the problem of waiting, but doesn't offer any solutions. He wants us to find solutions ourselves. Everyone has different problems, and the solution accordingly for them are different. This is also the main meaning of whole story, I think. The story begins with a non-specific questions. Key committed a crime that he didn't know about. He asks everyone else for help instead of acting on his own. What would you do if you were in his place? Answering this question, Kafka would like to come up with a solution that is unique to you. Also, I would like to see how Kafka could come up with an equally crazy solution. Kafka wants to tell us that we should find a solution on our own and not get it from others. They can only advise us what they think is best, but in the end, it's up to us to do it. So if we continue to wait for someone or something to save us from our problems, like the man from the parable or key, we will live an unfulfilled life or die with shame. So quoting father of self-help, Benjamin Franklin, goes, God help those who help themselves. So that's all. Thank you for your attention.